sorry about the mix-up with the music. That was a bit odd.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry.
Liz, can you pass my essential down from here back?
Information on them.
No, my essential.
You mean Ellie? Yes.
There are
You don't like being called Liz.
You remember the
there are the little piggies for the £4 are on the tables somewhere. There's a pink one and a blue one. If you haven't put your £4 in yet, please do so now. And yes, and then I have to remember what I'm going to do. Right. Right, so thank you again. Right, great. My favourite ever topic, love and romance. Unfortunately, Jane is. You haven't had a very good time, have you? You've been on well for quite a while. Yeah. So I kind of took it over for today. Since it's not obviously my most expert subject, I would say, in tarot at least, I kept it open. What I wanted to do was, whereas when we've done Valentine meetups before, we've always tried to, I don't know, do spreads or work out what people do for love and what happens when you get a client that is in a particular situation. I think you all agree, even if you're not reading professionally, that perhaps a good 80% of questions asked are about relationships one way or another, so it is quite a majority. And so I wanted to actually keep it more as a discussion and helping people that either working professionally or not work out questions on relationships and romance. Hi.
Hi.
Yes.
Yes, welcome.
Sorry, we just started literally. We had a live music meetup. The music was playing loud. Yes, you can. And so the first and I think the most important topic is when you're reading for someone, even for yourself, is how to ask the question. It's a ghost. How to ask the question. What do you think is the most asked question? What do you have most difficulty with? Do you do yes or no questions when you read for a relationship, or do you tend to avoid them? Because mainly, and I found this in my experience, one of the most common questions is, will he come back?
Yes. Agreed.
And which is a yes, it's not an open question, is it? It's a closed question, it's a yes or no, and you can either just take it on the chin and say yes or no. I mean, to be honest, I never had a yes. He's gone. Which is not
It's the Eight of Cups question, right?
It's the Eight of Cups, it's the Ten of Swords, it's the Three of Swords.
Yeah.
It depends where you are in the relationship. I mean, I've been asked that question in different. There's different scenarios, isn't it? Is he or she coming back because we just split up? Or
Sorry, hello.
Hi.
Sorry, we're late because we couldn't find it.
That's okay.
You're okay to join you?
Yes,
Yes.
of course. We just literally started. Get a chair from.
Lovely, yeah.
Chairs. Just,
We massively apologize.
no problem. We started a bit late anyway. Yes, so the scenarios where I've been asked this yes or no question vary. There is the, I've just split up with someone, and is there a chance that he's coming back, or the relationship, or is married, so will he come back to me? There's so many different, situations. So I tend to rephrase the question if I'm uncomfortable with it, either for myself, because I noticed also when I ask the questions that are pertinent to a relationship, not necessarily romantic, but let's say just that it is, the way you word the question has a huge impact on how the cards are going to answer your question. So if you don't ask, as I think I said this last time when we were in the last meetup, if you don't ask the right question, most of the chances are you're going to get the wrong answer or a mixed up answer which you're not going to understand. In your experience, what is the most difficult question to answer in terms of a relationship reading, in your experience?
Will he come back?
Really, well, that's a yes or no question. If you were to think of it as an
Oh, I
open question,
rephrase it and say the energy surrounding the relationship.
right?
And then you get the 8 cups, or the 10 of swords, or the 3 of swords, or the tower, and so on.
Do you find though, mostly like what the tarot is showing you is you? And,
Yeah.
and you want to, you know, like some people will want to know, well, what are they thinking or what are they feeling?
Yes.
But it's about you.
Well, that brings up another subject that I've got here on my point, which is the snooping bit.
Yeah.
Do I really want to know where he's at? I'm saying he because,
Yeah.
yes, sorry.
Could I just say, one of the things I always find difficult is the time scales, like when, you know, if
Oh,
you were
yeah.
saying, is he coming back, you say when, you know, will it be tomorrow or?
Yeah, I've had that as well.
Yeah,
I've been
when
asked
then
that. Will
is
he come
actually
back tomorrow?
very
Will he
hard.
call me this week? Will he make a date? Will, you know.
I'm with you on that.
Am
I've
I gonna
never
get the
cracked
ring?
time.
No,
Never
time.
cracked it. Time.
See, another one is, will I get married?
Yeah.
Will I ever get married? Will I meet my soulmate? There's this whole soulmate thing now going on.
The one that I have a problem with
Do I sound cynical? Sorry.
is, as well, along with the timescales and many, many other things, is where. Where will I meet him? Because I've had that quite a few times. Well, where am I going to meet him? Am I going to meet him here? Am I going to meet him in another place?
Yeah.
So I think that's always been locations in general have been a really hard
Hard to
subject.
answer.
Yeah.
Because
Although that's a-
it's
Tarot
not-
doesn't do it well,
It's
does
not
it?
an exact.
It probably does. I just don't.
And I'm not sure.
No,
it
I mean I would
does.
say
No.
that you can kind of get an idea. I mean, for example, if you were to get the 6 of Swords, then you probably would think that you wouldn't meet him here, that you would have to go somewhere else to meet him. But that's just one possible
Yeah.
interpretation.
Does it mean that you have to emotionally go somewhere else?
Or you have to emotionally go somewhere else. Perhaps you really want a relationship, but you're not really ready for it. Whatever the, you know, maybe you haven't healed from your past relationships, or so. It is so difficult, and usually I find that these clients or friends that you read for in this situation are generally also the most distressed.
Yeah.
Because they're not coming to you from a happy point. Because if they were happy in a relationship, they wouldn't particularly ask the question. So it's either someone that has been, even bereavement I found. I had a lady, and again I mentioned this in the last meetup, a lady that lost her husband of many, many years, and her question in the reading for me was, is he still watching over me? Can he, you know, can I sort of know if he's still there for me emotionally, even though he's passed on? Terribly difficult question. I mean, the woman was lovely. She was very kind and nice, but you could really feel that she was very distressed and she really missed him. The cards, fortunately, in that particular reading were lovely. So, working myself as in mediumistic terms as well, I said that I was inclined to say to her yes, you know, but it is so varied that, again, I ask, what is the most difficult question that you think you would find difficult to answer if a friend or a client would come to you for a relationship reading?
Another one is, have I met him or her yet?
That's a good one. Because, again, we go back to the soulmate thing. It's a big marketing thing now, the twin flame, soulmate, people counseling everyone getting, but I personally believe that a soulmate is a very generic term. It's someone that you are compatible with and can teach you lessons, and not necessarily nice ones either. It doesn't necessarily, you know, people have this idea of, will I marry, will I meet a partner, of this sort of gone with the wind. You know,
Well, that wasn't a happy arrangement.
yeah, I mean, but it's life, it's got high and lows, but people, when they come to you, remember, I'm looking at it from the perspective of you as a reader, and then someone coming to you, why is Andrew laughing at that?
So it's just people like to ask this question, you know, will I marry, as if the assumption is all your problems are solved when you're married, which obviously is not. It's a beginning.
They're just beginning, Henry. Take it from me. They're just beginning. That's cynical. Yes.
But yes, you hit the nail on the head with that. Just saying, it's happy ever after. They come because either they've been disappointed or they've just lost someone, and so they want to know if they're going to be happy. We all know that relationships are difficult in the best of times, even friendships, family relationships, whatever. So it's never so clear cut as telling someone, yes, you will get married to you're Prince Charming and everything is going to be fine. It's sort of unrealistic, and that brings us again back to the soulmate idea, that I believe there are many. I mean, there's probably some of us here today that could be happily be soulmates. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get married or.
But you could be.
I think anyone can get along with anyone else. It's just a matter of what you're willing to do for that relationship.
But you can meet someone that you view as a soulmate, but that's just
You
in
can.
your eyes.
I believe you can. I mean,
not
some
in
people do
theirs.
meet their perfect partnership. That's absolutely fine. I'm not saying that's impossible. It's just that you have, as a tarot reader, when you get a majority of customers, they relationships questions mainly, majority, and then career, I'd say, health. Although many readers don't do health readings, but some are health as well. But you can go around that as well. There are spreads that you can use where you don't really give medical advice, but that's perhaps another topic. Now, you made a point a little bit earlier, I think it was you, no, it was Edward, sorry, about the snooping. How many of you snoop?
No.
I'm gonna be honest.
But I have no morality, so.
I'm honest.
You know, like,
what are they doing?
Because think about it, you're doing a relationship reading for either for yourself or for a friend.
Yeah.
You already know what you're feeling somehow. If you fancy someone, then you fancy them. You already know that you're interested in that particular person. How many of you would you go one step beyond and do a spread and find out how he's feeling about or she feeling about you?
I might do it.
sorry.
I might do it for a friend, but I wouldn't do it for money, or certainly it's against tabby rules. I wouldn't do it for tabby. But if it was a friend that I knew really well,
You've done it for me.
I'd be tempted. And it would be just like, look, I'm not supposed to do this, but hey, okay, you're a mate. So
And do you think there is a difference if you do a third-party reading where the person is actually not present and you're sort of snooping? I use that word.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, it all depends on how you phrase the question and what is your intent. And also, when you get the information, how skewed are you going to be towards that person?
How much are you going to project on that?
Yeah.
You get in the two
well,
cups and you go,
I'm
hey,
getting
he's going to
this,
marry
and
me.
maybe you
Yeah.
interpret that wrong, and you're projecting that onto that person, which is unfair and not true.
Well, it could be that you get really nice cards because there is potential, but again, we go back and you've got free will. Things can change. So at the moment where you're asking, there is potential for that relationship, but what you're doing and how you're going to act towards that particular relationship is going to influence it. Because if you're going to turn up to a date with a he or she, and then your signs are, I'm not interested, that person might just move on, even though there is potential there. So your free will and your action influence how it's going to happen. Next thing was tarot spreads. Do you think there is a difference in doing a particular tarot spread for a relationship reading, or would you just go with what you know, like for example a Celtic cross layout, regardless of the fact that it's just another question for you? Or do you craft or like to craft special relationship spreads for love readings as such? Do you?
Yeah,
Anyone?
no, I actually think about the question, think about the person, and then pick a spread, actually. I've got my favourite spreads, and the Celtic Cross, frankly, isn't one of them. But
No, I don't.
I've got my little favourite spreads, but actually I'll sort of say, oh, actually, if you want to ask that, okay, I think I'll use this spread. And so, personally, I don't know about anybody else, but I like to tailor.
Do you do a general spread first?
No, I'll whatever the question is, and actually when I've done that and tailored the spread, like my friend with the ex-husband and the dream,
Oh yes, yes. I remember.
and I said, I think we'll do this spread, and it was so, the cards just spoke, and it was so right, and it ended with the death card, and she said, now I'll tell you, she said, I've just heard he died, and I was like, ouch. Yeah, and
That
it
was one of the cases where the death actually meant literal death.
It did, yeah, but it was just the right spread to do. And I just knew, I just thought, I'm going to give you this spread, you happy with this? Because she was another tarot reader, so she would know. And I said, you happy with this spread? But it's a client, they will accept. You know,
How many of you use significators when doing relationship readings?
I do. If like you know the other person.
And if you don't?
If I don't, then
No.
no, not really.
I have a spread that I use whenever I want to ask the question or have the question answered of where am I at with X, Y, or Z, and I use that for everyone in my life, not just romantic relationships.